Bruno is standing in the shower. The water is running, but he's not washing. He's winning an argument. An argument that happened 3 years ago with his old boss. Back then, he froze. He couldn't find the words. But right now, in this shower, he's delivering the perfect comeback. His voice is sharp. His logic is flawless. He's destroying this guy. There's just one problem. His old boss doesn't know this conversation is happening. Nobody does. Bruno is standing alone under hot water, heart racing, fists clenched, cortisol flooding his bloodstream, fighting a ghost, and winning. That's the saddest part. He always wins. If you've ever rehearsed an argument in the shower that ended 3 years ago, you already know where this is going. We all overthink, but most people don't realize what it actually is. We think overthinking means we're careful, analytical, that we care more than other people. That's not what's happening. Overthinking is not problem solving, it's problem replaying. You're not getting closer to an answer, you're just pressing rewind on the same scene and watching it again. And it doesn't just happen in the shower. Pip is staring at her phone. Her friend just replied, "Okay," with a period. That's it. One word, one dot. And Pip has now spent 40 minutes decoding it. Are they mad? Was it something I said yesterday? Should I ask? Should I not ask? She's written a reply, deleted it, rewritten it, deleted it again, 14 drafts. Meanwhile, her friend was driving and typed it at a red light without thinking twice. Ziggy is getting ready for a party tonight, but he's not excited. He's running simulations. What if nobody talks to me? What if there's an awkward silence and I'm just standing there holding a drink? What if I say something weird and everyone looks at me? He hasn't even left his apartment yet, and he's already exhausted. That's called pre-worrying. Your brain convinces you that if you worry enough in advance, the pain will hurt less when it arrives. It doesn't. You just suffer twice, once in your head and once in real life. And then there's Lena. It's 3 a.m. She felt a tingle in her left arm, so she Googled it. 10 minutes later, she's deep in a medical rabbit hole, convinced she has a condition she couldn't even pronounce an hour ago. She went looking for reassurance. Instead, she built a highlight reel of everything that could go wrong. 4 people, 4 completely different situations, but the same engine running underneath all of them. So why does the brain do this? Here's what neuroscience tells us. Your brain has a system called the default mode network, the DMN. It activates whenever you're not focused on a specific task, when you're in the shower, when you're lying in bed, when you're on a boring commute. The moment your brain has nothing to chew on, the DMN switches on, and its favorite playlist has 2 tracks, past regret and future anxiety. That's exactly what happens to Milo. He's on the bus home from work. He's not thinking about anything, headphones in, staring out the window, and then, out of nowhere, a mistake he made 2 years ago hits him like a truck. Something he said in a meeting, something nobody else remembers, but his brain has kept the receipt, and it just handed it back to him, highlighted in red. A 2023 study from Yale found that the DMN shows significantly higher activity in people who ruminate, people who replay negative thoughts on a loop. Psychologist Susan Nolen-Hoeksema, who spent her career at Yale studying this pattern, gave it a name, rumination. Like a cow chewing the same grass over and over. You're not analyzing it, you're just chewing on it until it makes you sick.
And overthinking doesn't just waste your time, it wrecks your body. A study published in Psychosomatic Medicine found that people who ruminate show elevated cortisol levels, the stress hormone, even when nothing stressful is actually happening. Your body can't tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. So every time you replay that argument, every time you rehearse that disaster, your nervous system responds as if it's happening right now. Your heart rate goes up, your muscles tense, your sleep quality drops. You're not just thinking too much, you're slowly poisoning yourself with thoughts that aren't even real. And here's the worst part, it feels productive. Neuroscientist and addiction psychiatrist Dr. Judson Brewer, author of Unwinding Anxiety, explains why. He says worrying is an addiction. When something feels uncertain, your brain panics. Worrying is the response, and your brain rewards it. Because when you're worrying, you feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're preparing. But you're not. you're just spinning. Brewer calls it a habit loop. Uncertainty triggers anxiety. Anxiety triggers worry, and worry gives a tiny hit of relief, just enough to keep the loop going. So overthinking isn't a personality trait, it's a habit. Your brain learned it, which means your brain can unlearn it. This is exactly the loop all of them were stuck in, so each of them stopped trying to think their way out and tried something different. Ziggy went first. He tried something called the worry window. The idea is simple. Instead of fighting anxious thoughts all day, you give them an appointment. Ziggy set an alarm for 6 p.m., 15 minutes. That was his designated worry time. Every time a thought popped up during the day, what if the party is awkward, or what if I embarrass myself? He didn't fight it. He didn't push it down. He wrote it on a sticky note and said, "I'll worry about you at 6. At first, it felt ridiculous, like scheduling a meeting with his own anxiety. But when 6 p.m. came, something strange happened. He looked at his list. 8 things. 5 of them had already resolved themselves. 2 didn't even make sense anymore. 1 still mattered, and he dealt with it in 4 minutes. A recent clinical study found that this technique, called worry postponement, significantly reduced insomnia, anxiety, and negative affect in chronic worriers. The key insight is this: you're not telling yourself to stop worrying, you're telling yourself, not now. And that tiny shift gives your brain permission to let go, temporarily. But temporarily is all you need, because most worries don't survive the delay. Milo tried the second tool, cognitive diffusion. This comes from psychologist Stephen Hayes, the creator of acceptance and commitment therapy. The idea is simple. We don't suffer because we have thoughts. We suffer because we believe every thought is true. Milo had a thought that wouldn't leave him alone. I'm going to get fired. It played on repeat every Sunday night. So he tried Hayes' technique. Instead of saying, "I'm going to get fired," he said out loud, "I'm having the thought that I'm going to get fired." The first time he tried it, he felt like an idiot. Saying that sentence out loud in his apartment felt like talking to himself, which technically he was. But he kept going. The next time the thought showed up, Monday morning, opening his laptop, he said it again. "I'm having the thought my boss hates my last email." Something shifted, not the thought itself, the weight of it. It was still there, like a song playing in another room, but it was no longer blasting through a speaker strapped to his chest.
Pip was sitting next to him when he said it out loud for the 3rd time that week. She looked at him and said, "Dude, you've said that every Sunday for 6 months. Have you been fired yet?" Milo paused. "No." Pip shrugged. Then maybe he stopped sending it an invitation. By the end of the week, Milo noticed something he didn't expect. The thoughts didn't stop, but he stopped treating them like evidence. A thought is not a fact. It's a draft. And you don't have to publish every draft your brain writes. Clinical research testing this exact technique found that cognitive diffusion significantly reduced the emotional intensity of negative self-referential thoughts. The thought doesn't disappear, but the grip loosens. You stop being the thought, and you start being the person observing it. Pip needed the 3rd tool, the 5-5-5 rule. She was 40 minutes into analyzing that okay text when she forced herself to stop and ask 3 questions. Will this matter in 5 minutes? Maybe. Will this matter in 5 months? Probably not. Will this matter in 5 years? She almost laughed. No, absolutely not. She had just burned 40 minutes of her life on a text that won't exist in her memory by next Tuesday. The 5-5-5 rule doesn't make the thought disappear, it puts it into perspective. And perspective is the very first thing overthinking destroys. And Lena, she figured out something even simpler. Your brain cannot run a full anxiety simulation and process physical movement at the same time. The next time she felt the spiral starting at 2 a.m., the Googling, the worst-case scenarios, the imaginary diagnoses, she didn't try to reason her way out. She got up. She walked to the kitchen. She did the dishes. She didn't feel like doing the dishes. Nobody does at 2 a.m. But her hands were moving, the water was running, and somewhere between the 2nd plate and the 3rd, her brain went quiet. Not because the thoughts were solved, but because her body gave her brain something else to do. Ziggy still gets anxious before parties, but his sticky notes taught him that most fears have an expiration date, and it's usually before 6 p.m. Milo still hears the voice that says he's not good enough, but now he knows it's just a draft, not a verdict. Pip still sees the period at the end of OK, but she asks herself, will this matter in 5 years? And the answer sets her free in 5 seconds. And Lena stopped trying to outthink her 3 a.m. spiral. She just started outmoving it. None of them stopped thinking. That was never the goal. The goal was to stop giving every thought a VIP seat. So here's your one challenge. Tonight, when you're lying in bed and your brain starts replaying the day, every awkward thing you said, every email you should have worded differently, every what if, don't try to solve it. Don't argue with it. Just notice it. Say, oh, there it is again. And then decide, does this thought deserve my sleep, or is it just noise? Your brain will always think. That's its job. But you get to decide which thoughts deserve your time, and which ones are just background static. Next time your mind starts running, don't try to outthink it. Outmove it.